Welcome, everyone, to Cinema Regulars, where we see so many films in theaters that the employees know us by names and they don't ask what movies we're seeing, they ask us how many. Now, Isaac and uh, you know what? I was about to say something, but I don't want to get too into it. So let's just roll into the titles we got here. Starting us
Yep.
off today, we got a new hitter, Vindicta, that neither of us really saw anything about. We kind of went into this completely blind. Um, I think about halfway, well, not halfway, but a little bit into the movie, we realized, oh, we did see the trailer for this. But
hmm
the guy in the mask was the only aspect about it we even remember, so we were still pretty blind. Um, then after that, we have the 30th anniversary of Hocus Pocus,
hmm
which we'll take a look at. Now we're not going to give that a full number ranking again because it's a retro showing.
Of course.
And then wrapping up for now, because we have another movie coming up in a couple days, which we're going to just staple onto the end of this, fast forward in the middle of the video, you know. For
hmm
now, the ending we have is Exorcist Believer, the newest addition into the Exorcist franchise, and they even brought back a character from the original movie, which is surprising. Not
hmm
surprising that they did that because every horror movie franchise is doing that nowadays. It's a requirement now, but surprising that anyone from that movie is even still alive.
Yeah.
Because it's also like this week, I think, is the 50th anniversary of the original movie. So they kind of plotted out the new one on a pretty good time there. So that's interesting. So let's get on rolling into Vindicta.
Yep.
So Vindicta, there was a few things about it that seemed familiar straight off the bat before we get into the brief summary. That the main character in this movie is the main character from Children of the Corn that, as you've seen, I've already done a drunken rant about.
hmm
So I was kind of on the weary about that in the first place, but it also had Sean Astin, which did have a was a check in the positive for this. Um,
Yeah, it was.
so basically, what this movie is about is that there's a serial killer in a statue of David, Michelangelo's David mask, and he's using medieval torture weapons to kill people, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of revolving around the main character, the girl from Children of the Corn. Her name's Lucy or Lou in this movie, and she's a paramedic that works alongside a fire station. So she goes around and patches people up after fires or just out in general doing general paramedic stuff and whatever. And somehow the killer is tied to her and her past, and it's kind of this mystery that goes on through there. And
Mhm.
so that's pretty much what it is.
Like,
Um, any
li-
other aspects to mention, Isaac?
not really about the movie itself. I honestly was like just going to like. There's so like little that I remember about the way this movie was structured that I was just looking up
Yeah,
what
it was.
Google was gonna tell me was the
You
summary.
googled the plot. Yeah, Google
Yeah,
the
and
plot. What
all
is
it
it?
gave
What
me
is it?
and all it gave me was a young paramedic tries to survive her first night on the job as a mass killer remains on the loose.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's
That's
the entire
really all you
plot.
need to know.
Um, this movie was extremely goofy,
Oh yeah, like it was very goofy.
like to the point where every time they found a body that had been like killed by one of these medieval torture weapons, we audibly burst out laughing. It
Mm-hmm.
was incredible. We had this to ourselves. We were the only
Mm-hmm.
people to buy tickets to this movie, and it's apparent why. Um, this was worse than Children of the Corn. Because Children of the Corn, at the very least, I could follow along with what the quote unquote plot was, but like throughout the movie, I'm just like, what's going on? Like, what is even happening? Right?
Yeah, like no, it was to be clear, this movie was bad. Like it actually was. Like I'm
Yeah,
gonna outright say it's a bad movie.
this was
It's a movie. It's a
terrible.
movie. It's a movie to like watch and just absolutely destroy with your friends and nothing else. Like that's all you really.
But
That's the only purpose it serves.
I would say Children of the Corn is like a watch with your friends and destroy it. This was so bad, but at the same time, it was absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
This wasn't even anything.
like I was
Like,
really sad to see Sean Astin in this. Like,
yeah, like, and the so the serial killer in The Mask, he was like speaking Latin the whole time and like leaving behind messages in Latin. But like the audience doesn't know Latin or anything, so like it would be impossible to even really follow along with all the clues he's leaving behind. Because I can't even say, like, even sitting in the movie, I couldn't even say what a single one of the words he left behind was. Like, the whole movie was just a blur of, like, boring and then
and
laughably bad. But yeah, this movie was, like, nothing, like a blur of nothing, and then laughably bad at the same time.
oh yeah, like I don't know if I'd go as far as saying this was a fun bad movie,
No, this was a
but
bad
like
movie, and then we were laughing, like, pointing and laughing at how bad it was.
uh, like honestly, I don't really have anything else to say. Oh yeah, and then there was the whole thing of like I think you oh wait, unless you already said this when you were cutting out, was the whole thing of like dude couldn't pick a mythology. He
Yeah,
couldn't
because
pick
he
a
was
time
talking about like
period.
Latin stuff and writing Latin messages, but then he also dressed up as David, and then he like left behind like names of like Greek mythological figures, and I like make up your mind, dude. Like, what is the theme that you're doing here? Because it's kind of nothing. It's kind of all over the place, and then he's using medieval weapons, so there's like no connection to anything. I think they mentioned one time that the medieval torture device exhibit at the museum got robbed,
They did.
but they kind of like whispered that under the table. They didn't like that wasn't a scene or anything. That didn't happen.
It was a throwaway thing in the background of a scene.
Right. Oh, speaking of the background of a scene,
Oh,
so
oh.
so this is set in Seattle of all places, and it looks like fucking Gotham City because like every single like corner of sidewalk is taken place by either a burning car or a burning trash can,
Mhm.
and then like in at least five different spots in every single shot, like every frame of the shot of the scene, there's about like five BLM protest posters. So I don't know if like this just takes place in the middle of the riots or anything, because there was like people in masks running around burning shit down, and like there was like people looting and rioting everywhere. So I don't know if it was like this was supposed to be taking place during the BLM riots, but like it didn't like that had nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah,
Like it bared no impact on the plot at all.
no, I think it was literally just there because it was like they needed a background thing to like explain
They
why the
they
entire full
didn't though.
force of the police. Well, no, like let me rephrase that. I think it's meant to make it believable why the entire weight of the police department did not come down on trying to track down this serial killer that is clearly killing like members of their own like dude killed a firefighter, an EMT, like dude was just killing people left and right. Like
I guess, but like
it's like their resources are spread too thin, so these guys, these like select cast has to deal with it themselves. Like that's the only thing I can think of as to why it would need to be
okay,
set
if
in
you
this
need
in this thing.
to, in order to have something in your movie, the reasoning why you have something in your movie, if you need like 7 plot points and a behind the scenes guy to like explain you through the steps of why it's in there, it shouldn't be in there. Like
The
if
only
it's
other
all like
thing
speculation and like, oh well, it's implied that, no, it's not implied at all. It just has nothing to do with the entire movie.
there was one line in the entire movie that made me be like, is this why they're setting it during this? Is because the whole point of him being David was like her thesis was written on how the story of David basically could be applied to like overthrowing like people in positions of power. Like it
Well,
was
no,
literally
that's
a
what he was doing.
throwaway
No,
line.
no, dude, that's what he was doing. The connection was that like the people in power got his family killed because they were burning evidence against them. So
Yeah,
he went up against the people in power who killed his family, and that's what that meant. It had
yeah.
nothing to do with the riots and the burning garbage can that was the
You,
background scene of this movie.
you know why are we analyzing this garbage movie so much? Let's just get to the ratings.
I don't know. Yeah, ranking? Okay, fine. Let's get to the ratings. Ranking. I gave this a 2 out of 10. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
I
same
can't
same
believe I
here.
paid for this.
Yeah, it's a 2 for me as well. Like it's not the worst thing I've seen all year, but dang, is it close.
It's close. Like, I had to, yeah. I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. This is the worst thing. Do not go see this movie. This movie deserves no money.
No,
I'm
it
pretty sure
deserves
because of
absolutely
this,
nothing.
I was willing to give the tiny head chick a break because maybe it was just Kurt Wimmer's fault that Children of the Corn sucked so bad, and I didn't see Wife like, and I'm sure as hell not going to go see Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. So 2 for 2 movies that I've seen her in the main role character were complete dumpster fires, and one of them quite literally dumpster on fire. So looking forward, Isaac, anything that's like remotely starring her in it, we go to see it for shits and giggles because it's going to be an atrocious film.
Fair enough. I 100% agree with that.
All right, moving on to a much better movie.
Hocus Pocus.
We Hocus Pocus. Isaac, um, for those who don't know, would you like to give a very, very brief rundown of the plot of this movie?
Yeah. Uh, three
All right.
witches back in the day. Three witches back in the day. Tried to live forever. Some kid tried to stop them. They got hanged. They were they cast a spell that one day they would come back from the dead. You know, when a virgin lights the candle on Halloween night during a full moon, and then fast forward 300 years to the plot, to the point of the movie. Uh, this angsty kid just is like, it's not real. Anyway, I'm gonna light the candle that everyone's telling me not to light, and he does that, and then they come, surprise, surprise, they come back, and they try to hunt down these kids so that way they can use the spell book they stole to live forever and take over the world. And that's pretty much the movie. It's a very boiled down
That's
version of the movie.
that's pretty much the movie. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah, it
before this, going in, Isaac, our brief backgrounds on the film. I
yeah,
am aware of the
go
movie.
ahead.
Okay. Um, as far as my standpoint, I mentioned this at the end of the last one, but um, I have no opinion on this movie. Okay, I don't have nostalgia for it because I didn't grow up watching it. I didn't watch Disney Channel during October. I watched Cartoon Network where all the cool stuff was. This wasn't like a staple holiday movie in my house. We did other stuff and watched other stuff, so I didn't have any grow up nostalgia for this. Um, I I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't really feel either way towards it. But I thought, it's Halloween. It's another movie we can throw in. It's the 30th anniversary. What the hell? Let's go see it. And we did. The only things I knew about the movie that I could remember about the movie beforehand is there was a zombie. There was a kid that got turned into a cat a million years ago. Um, and the blonde one was a baddie. And that they mentioned the fact that the main kid, who's like 14 years old, they mentioned that he was a virgin about 9,000 times, I think it was, during the movie.
Yeah, about give or
And
take.
like he's 14 and they keep constantly making fun of the fact that he's a virgin. I'm like, it would be illegal for him not to.
No,
Yeah,
I
that's.
actually do have a fond place in my heart for this movie. Like
Hmm.
I grew up watching this movie with my family. My Disney Channel was a thing that was on TV. Like I grew up watching, the Halloween Town movies, things like that. Like that's what I grew up on. So seeing this movie, now I haven't actually seen this movie in like 5 years. So seeing it again, like it was almost like seeing it for the first time in a way, just because it's been so long. But like this, it was just kind of fun to go see it. Like I
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It was fun. The movie is still a classic in my opinion, or at least the Disney Channel
yeah,
classic. Like it was just good fun to go see it. Like you even said it yourself. Like you were in a good mood like watching that movie.
yeah. Um, yeah, I had an okay time. It was good. I mean, it was just the two of us in there, so that made it even more enjoyable. Um,
Yeah.
and this was going to be your last Spirited, but
Hmm.
like the day before, I was like, nah, it's fine. It's Halloween. It's in the spirit. We'll just do it. It's whatever. Um, but now that it was, uh, you know, given the other movie that we watched so far, it's not a bad palate cleanser, if you know what I mean.
No, it was not. It was actually a very good like. I'm very happy we put that one in the middle because
Yeah,
between what we were watching, it was
yeah, it was. Um,
so. But no, the movie is still as fun as I remember. The characters were just as fun.
mhm.
Like it's just a fun Halloween movie. Like it's one of them fun campy things the family gets around and you watch it. Like I still enjoy it. I
So
still Go ahead.
No, I have a different topic, so keep going.
Oh, I still like the normal things we would judge a movie that we've already seen before on is like, how well it kind of holds up. And I'm like the effects were pretty bad. Like the spell magic stuff was really bad. But like,
Oh yeah, the fucking candle, which was literally just like color keyed out. Like I can do that on my editing software.
yeah, like it was
If I can
it
do
was
one
just
of the special effects from my computer at home that I edit this damn podcast on, if I can do that, let's do a test. Actually, let's actually make me work for this episode. Here's the I'll find a picture. Here's what it was in the movie. Um, and then here's what I do now. Let's see if that's how that compares side by side right here. Wow, I don't know what that looks like yet because I'm from the past, but we'll find out. It's
go
probably the
ahead,
same.
go ahead. We'll fill some B-roll of you like after the fact.
Yeah, it's a B-roll of me hating myself in the past for making me do this shit.
Just be like, okay, you asshole, listen here. You made me work for this, but here it is. Anyway, moving on. The movie was it was just fun. I still love
Yeah.
one fact, and you cracked up at it too. Well, I still love the
What?
fact that like they lost their brooms and stuff, and so the way that they
Yeah, I like
solved
that the
that
fat one
problem,
wrote a vacuum. That was funny.
that was it was really
Oh,
funny. And
fucking
then
vacuum, dude. I I
I
will say
remembered that, and it was so good.
those those kids, well not kids, the older guys, fucking Ice. The only reason I remember his name is because it was shaved in the back of his head, and then the other kid, I don't remember
It
his
was
name because it
Jay
wasn't
and Ice.
shaved into the back of his head. You could have shaved Jay into the back of your head. I'm just saying. Then I would have remembered what your name was. I I could take him. I would body those
You
two.
were so
I would
angry.
completely
You were
body
so angry
because
at
they
the
were
fact.
fucking they were loser bullies. Like they were straight out of like Power Rangers. Like they were fucking skull and bulk type idiots. Like literally, they like stop him on his bike, and he's like, "Give us your shoes," and like I'm like, bro, pick up the bike and then just start like banging them with him. You know, just like bash your bicycle like right into them, like destroy them. And they come back later, and then they like try to take the kid's candy or whatever. And I'm like, I would just like, I would destroy them if I was there. Like I know a lot of the time people be just like, oh, if that was me, it would be different. Like couldn't be me. I would never let these go. But no, but like I would. I had plans.
You were
Like I
devising
had moves
tortures for
planned out.
these kids. Like
Not
you
tortures,
were
but I
so
would just whoop their
frustrated.
ass.
You were
Because they're
so
stupid.
frustrated.
They were
You're like,
stupid. They
why are
weren't a
these the
threat, and they
bullies?
still took these man's shoes. Why are they the bullet? He's got ice shaved into the back of his
Or
head.
this?
This is the dumbest man on earth. Whatever. Screw ice and Jay.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots. I'd kick their asses any day of the week.
Just to point out, Ice's real name was Ernie.
Yeah, fucking Ernie. I'm not getting my shoes stolen by a guy named Ernie.
But no, at the end, yeah, it
All
was
right.
just fun. This was just fun to do.
Yeah. I the pseudo rankings now because I mean we're not giving it a full number. I give this one Ernie or Ice as he demands to be called. I give him that one of those, one of that guy.
We just ranted about Ernie sucking.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna give this movie.
So
I
give
still
a
give
one or
this
two.
movie a thumbs up.
Okay.
I give this movie 2 dead man's toes.
I'm not editing that. I'm not putting that up. Fine, I'll put it up. I put up an Ernie.
You put up an
I'll give you
Ernie.
2 toes. I'll give you 2 toes. I
Yeah,
put up an Ernie.
nice.
Freak. Dan Schneider R rating.
It's a reference to the movie.
I know. All
Anyway,
right.
moving on to stinky number 2. Stinky number 2.
Wow. Airing your feelings out right here and there. All right. Exorcist
Yeah.
Believer. Now, you and I both separately watched the original in our own time,
Hmm.
and I'm kind of glad we did. In the original, very few things I have to say about it. I can understand why this was so scary 50 years ago, but it's not anymore. It is a
No.
staple of horror movies for all of time. It is a genuine classic. It revolutionized horror, and I understand that, but it does not hold up,
Oh, not at all. No.
especially since the whole first half of it is boring and drawn out and nothing happening.
Then even when things do
But
start happening in that movie, like it's kind of meh. Like
for the
it just
time, it
yeah,
it
for
would have
the
been
time,
great and horrifying. But like,
Like if I would go back, if I were to not have seen this movie and lived 50 years ago, like it would be horrifying.
yeah, yeah. This one, however, um, this one kind of stunk.
Yeah, more than kind of, but yeah.
So the plot of this one is that these two friends, these two girls, go missing, um, and then they appear 3 days later, and there appears to be both possessed by the same demon, which is a very interesting premise. The dual possession.
Yes.
But they didn't do a whole lot with that. Because in the trailers, in the second trailer, they didn't put this in the first trailer. They said, um, one girl lives and one girl dies. You get to choose. Um, and before I get more into that, I'll just say because after they do that, the rest of it plays out almost like every single exorcism movie, except for the fact that they didn't have a priest. They didn't really, stick to what an exorcism is. They kind of just threw anything they could at it. They did like vague Christian things towards it. And then they also like mixed in some kind of other pagan shit that doesn't make any sense. And I'll go into details later, but like they do that and whatever, it's exorcism movie. But so the aspect that one girl lives and one girl dies, you get to decide. They don't bring that in until the very end of the movie. What I
Mhm.
proposed would have been a much better movie is if they did that towards the middle, or like that's where the plot really kicks in, is after they get possessed and they put them together, and then that happens much earlier, and then the movie from there on is the parents having like arguments with each other, like arguing back and forth and getting heated, getting emotional, like screaming at each other, and then the two possessed girls are like taunting them all throughout the process until they make their decision or do the full exorcism at the end. Um, and like I think that would have been much more interesting if it was like a full psychological attack on the parents. But it wasn't that. It wasn't that. Um, what was kind of a surprise was the fact that one of them, going into spoilers very quick here, just a warning, one of the girls actually does end up dying. Like
Hmm.
they are, like they actually do carry out the one girl lives, one girl dies. Um, but it's very obvious, even from the very beginning, which one is the one that lives.
Yeah, like it was
Because one
very
of
obvious. Like
them,
there's a
one of them has a backstory, and you get to
Mhm.
see them like in the mom's womb, and you get the parents' backstory, and it follows them, and it follows like they picked the main characters already. Okay, it's not going to
Yeah.
be the side characters. So
Yep.
the main character's friend, because it's a white girl and a black girl, it's the white girl that dies, and the black girl lives. But
Catherine.
it's kind of, yeah, Catherine is the one. Sorry, it's Catherine and Angela are the girls.
Yep.
Catherine's the white girl. Angela's the black girl. Um,
Hmm.
Catherine ends up dying. Um, and then Angela lives, but it was super obvious because it was very focused on Angela and Angela's dad, who I think I would classify as the main character in this movie.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
I would say he is.
it's very focused on them. I think Catherine only gets like two scenes where she even gets to do anything, and they're both like really cringe.
Hmm.
Um,
My take
yeah, go
on
ahead.
this on that portion of it is like Angela was there to be the main character, like Reagan was in the original, and then Catherine was there to do all the stuff that they had Reagan do, basically. Like she was
Well,
there, like,
Reagan wasn't the main character in The Exorcist.
all right, well, let me rephrase that. What I mean is like they had her as like the main. They had Angela as like the main character, as like the main possessed person. I don't know how to phrase it exactly, but
Well,
like
they're both possessed is the thing, but they don't
I know,
give them
but
equal attention.
Catherine was there. Like Catherine got way worse, like way faster. Like she
Yeah,
was all
I
like
don't think
jacked
Angela
up and
even
everything.
did anything like too crazy.
She
Like she
tried
had
to
a
kill her
seizure,
dad.
I
That was
think.
about it.
Yeah, she wrapped a scarf around his neck and then immediately had a seizure, and then that's it.
Yeah, the
And then they
rest was all
locked her in a
carried out
room.
by Catherine.
Yeah. I want to talk about two more things before we head to the rankings. Number one, the returning character of Chris, the mom from the original Exorcist, came back.
Mhm.
That was all over the trailers. Boy, howdy, did she not have to do anything for this role?
She didn't. She was there for like 3
she
scenes, and that
showed,
was about it.
she showed up. She looked at the first girl. She said, "Where's the other girl?" She went to see the other girl. The other girl stabbed her eyes out, and then she laid in a hospital bed for the rest of the movie.
Yep,
You do get
that
a
was it.
cameo from the girl who played Reagan all those years ago. She stops by for a full second. But that's pretty much it. Like they could have made the entire movie without the legacy characters, but they needed asses in seats, I believe.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the movie just wasn't there. Like it was they had an interesting concept with the two girls being possessed at the same time, but they just didn't follow through.
Yeah, they dragged out a
Like
lot of it, and it only started getting interesting later. And then even then, they kind of boxed it. Um, so it wasn't just me. Quentin Tarantino and Dan Schneider wrote this, right?
oh yeah, like they like I even if you could show me paperwork and pay stubs and like the actual poster for the movie,
And the
but like
credits.
like you cannot convince me that Quentin Tarantino and Dan Schneider did not have a part in this movie. There was children's
There
feet
was
and other people's feet everywhere.
they had a lot of feet scenes.
There was
Like one
a
of the
lot of
in the
foot.
very opening of the movies, the first thing that happens was they did like a some kind of like Haitian blessing ritual on the pregnant woman when Angela was still uh in the womb. And they're like shaking this like rattle at her and like yelling, chanting words at her. And then one of the lady like I know this is like a real thing, but it's still weird. She takes like salt water, swishes around in her mouth, and just spits it all over her feet.
Yep,
And I'm like, what? Ew!
as one does to bless
Like
pregnant
gross.
women.
Okay. Okay. Like I understand the spitting thing, like that is real, but like and the on the feet, was that necessary? Wouldn't it be better to do it over the belly, I guess? But no. And then there's
Yeah,
for the final exorcism, everyone takes off their shoes for no reason. Like they're all just barefoot around the other barefoot children, and they keep zooming in on the like blisters and boils on both the girls' feet because they're talking about how, oh, you think our daughters were dragged down to hell, and then they burned their feet on the fire.
yeah.
And I'm like, what? You gotta stop
It
talking about
was
feet. Why? There was like 5 different scenes where they were barefoot and like they focused on it.
there's a moment before like everyone like they're all outside, right? Getting ready before
Yeah,
they all go in and like do this exorcism. And there's like a full 10 second like a full 10 to 15 seconds on screen where we watch every single person take off their shoes with like a close up of their feet like as they're entering the house.
I wouldn't say close up, but they was definitely focused directly on their feet as everyone took off their socks and shoes. And I'm like, why
Yeah,
is this the focus point?
like it really
I
shouldn't
don't I
be.
don't get it. I don't get it. Um, one positive thing I can say about this is the I suppose the girls being possessed did a good job in the acting. It was pretty all right.
Mhm.
Even though the trailers made a lot of those scenes look a lot better than they actually were in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like they redubbed a lot of the stuff in demon voice when it was way better in the trailers.
Yes.
Um, and the stuff that
One
was in demon
one
voice in the trailers were just the regular voice in here, and it was not as impactful.
there were the scene that we, that you've been making fun of for since the trailer
Oh
came
yeah,
out. The the body
the
and the
damn
blood scene. It was so much worse because at least in the trailer she's doing this like the body and the blood like she's just getting more deep and guttural about it. In the movie,
yeah, and then
she
it's
just said it faster. That's all she was like. There's a moment where she just goes, "Body in the blood, the body in the blood." Like it just got faster and faster, and I'm like, "What the hell?"
I'm like, boy, like you turned to me because we've been making fun of that scene in the trailers like all month, and then you turn to me and you're like, oh boy, cringe incoming. And then it got
Yeah.
here, and it was even worse than we thought it was going to be.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
There's really not
Um,
much like positive I can say about this movie. Like even the
when
effects in this movie were
when they
not
twisted
good.
when they twisted the priest's head around at the end, that was that looked good.
Oh, thank you for reminding me
Yeah,
about that scene because I actually did have something I wanted to say about that scene because I like that because it's a nice little callback to the first movie
yeah, because when
because
Reagan twists her head around.
no, that's not
No,
the scene I'm talking about. It was a scene that was never actually seen in the movie because if you remember at the
serious?
beginning of The Exorcist, Reagan killed a guy, and when
Yeah,
he killed him, and when she killed him, his head turned completely around,
yeah,
like it did a full 180. And they were like, "Well, it could have happened from him falling down the stairs, but more likely it was he was killed in the room and then thrown out the window." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's actually I liked that. I liked. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but like I made that connection and I thought that was kind of cool. Like we actually got
I
to see
I
that scene.
no, I felt that was more. If it was a reference to anything, that'd be a reference to when that actually did happen when Reagan did it in the original movie.
Yeah. Because I mean, it is implied that this demon is the same one that possessed Reagan.
Yeah, it is. Was it Pazuzu, right?
I don't remember his
I don't
name.
think they said it in the original movie. They didn't ever say what it was, but I think
I don't
that's what
even
it's
think they.
called.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
All
It
right.
was.
Um, yeah, it
Yeah.
was an experience for sure.
Yeah. Of the movies I've seen, it was definitely one of them.
I wouldn't say it was a good experience, but it was one, undeniably. Um, let's head on to the rankings and put this one in, shall we?
Yeah. Um.
Uh,
Me pers. Oh, sorry. Did you want to go first?
no, go on. I always go first.
Okay. Me personally, I'm giving this movie a 3.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I honestly like while sitting in the theater watching it, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give this a 4. But the more I sat with it, I just like this movie was just not good. Like I'm giving it deserves a 3.
Yeah. Um, I'm going to give this one a 4, not because it's simply because of everything that I have in 3. Not that it was better than the stuff in the 3, but the stuff in 3 was a lot worse than this, if that makes any sense.
That's fair.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend this one either. Unless you're like a
I am
big
going to
Exorcist fan and you are diehard about it and you want to see the returning characters back again, but I mean, I don't know why. They're not even really a part of the movie, actually.
dog. I'd rather go see the Pope's Exorcist than this.
I mean, at least the Pope's Exorcist had like good parts. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? At least Russell Crowe riding around on the little moped, that was fun. Like at least Russell Crowe was like enjoyable to watch,
Yeah.
and like the opening
Oh,
sequence was cool.
yeah. What was that scene in this movie that it was you were shaking your head at something. What was it?
Could have been fucking anything. Oh,
It was
it
the
was
scene where
when no, it was when the when Catherine got visited by um Chris,
Chris.
the old lady. Um and she tries her attempt, Chris, she tries her attempt to cast the demon out, and she says, "In the name of all the holy beings, and in the name of my daughter Reagan, I cast you out." And I'm like, no, that
You're
would
not
not do
helping.
anything. That would not do anything because the reason that exorcist works, or like the reasoning behind exorcisms, is that it's the power and glory of God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. Priests call upon that power to eject the spirit out by forcing it into the light, so to speak. Um, that's actually my main gripe with this movie, is that like it completely ignores that aspect and kind of just does whatever it wants without doing anything. They don't have any holy water, really. I
The
mean, they
first
do,
one
but
was
it's
at
like
least
bath.
formal.
It's bath. It's bath water with like leaves in it. And like their reasoning for that is that the water was clean, and one time in the Bible they said, "I pour clean water on you to make you clean," and they're like, "Ah, yeah, that works." And then it just starts burning them. I'm like, "That's what? That doesn't make any sense." Once they
No, it
threw
does not.
as much, they mention like God and Jesus a lot in this movie because it's an Exorcist movie, so obviously they have to, but they kind of ignore it. Like they don't use anything to get like you just said, the first one was formal, like a formal exorcism, because it has to be, because there's ways that exorcisms have to be done, which is why they have, which why the common conflict of why they can't just do it is because it has to be approved by the Vatican, approved by the church.
Yeah.
Because if it's not a demon, it could just end up causing more harm than good. Um, so they didn't have any of that. So yeah, but like it was clear that they didn't know what they were doing.
No, they did not. Like, and the fact that they were just, again, they were just like mixing religions in this movie, like
Yeah, there
willy
was like
nilly.
some. Yeah, they're like I don't know. I don't know what they brought this other lady in, like from Haiti or from Africa or some other country, and I she quoted the Bible, so I guess it was some kind of Christian, but like it was like I said, she had the leaf water, and then there was the weird sigil that she drew on the floor, and then like the smoke thing that she did. I mean, I know people who are watching this without seeing it, they're not gonna get what any of that means, but I watched the movie and I don't get what any of that means. I don't know. This was kind of a mess.
It really was. Like, honestly, on paper, these three movies, like, it was gonna be good, like October Halloween fun, you know?
Yeah, on
Like,
paper, yeah, you get a serial killer mystery slasher movie. You got Hocus Pocus, classic Halloween movie, and then you have the new
like,
Exorcist movie. On paper, that sounds good. Actually seeing it, 1 out of 3.
not great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was just it was just kind of a stinker. I mean, at
it was a
least
big
we're gonna
stinker.
be like, at least in a couple of days, we're going to be doing what is probably like one of the most anticipated things that I'm gonna have
Yeah, this is
is
going to
going
be
to
a
go
cool.
see
This is going to be a cool ticket in my movie theater ticket collection. Like, I'm going to be very happy that I have this one.
like having Friday the 13th on October Friday the 13th. Like
Yeah,
that is awesome.
yeah, that's going to be cool. So
And
yeah, actually,
if I'm correct, don't the tickets actually state what day of the week it is too?
yes, and the time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that.
Ever look at a ticket before? Um, so on that topic, we are actually now going to smash cut to the day after we go see Friday the 13th. So we will be back in the future. And go. Whoa, now we're in the future.
We are, yes.
Yeah. We are several days later after putting off this review of Friday the 13th on the 13th. Um, so if for some reason you are somehow unaware of the plot of Friday the 13th, there is a killer, hidden killer, you don't get to see who it is, going around a summer camp site and killing off the camp counselors one by one. Now, admittedly, this is before the summer camp is open, so there's no kids there. So don't worry about that. But it's just the counselors getting stuff settled up and then screwing around. But then they're being picked off one by one by an unseen killer throughout the movie. Very simple plot, but to be fair, it's a very simple movie. Um, I've seen it before. Isaac, I don't know if you have.
I hadn't watched this movie since I was probably like 13.
Okay, that's fair. Um,
Actually, yes,
yeah, I
the
think
last
I've
time I did watch this was when I was 13 because I remember watching it specifically so I could watch Friday the 13th when I turned 13. So yeah,
nice,
I haven't seen this in like 11 years.
nice. So basically, rushing through the movie review, it's all right. Okay, it's a classic though because it's the original
Yes.
Friday the 13th, and they only get worse from here, as most
Yeah.
of these movies go. So not really gonna give it a whole rating thing or review going on, but I'd rather just talk about the experience of going there and
Yeah, that was
experiencing this movie
yeah,
because we
yeah,
got the
review
rare experience this year
yes.
of getting to watch Friday the 13th on October Friday the 13th, which is magical. And I even got extra lucky because I snagged seat number 13.
It was really cool to just watch the movie on the day. And it was interesting because
Hmm.
like afterwards I like I went down this like deep rabbit hole of like looking up stuff about like why is Friday the 13th considered unlucky? Like why is
Yeah,
this a thing? And honestly, it's only really been a thing for the past like 200 years. And even then, it didn't really come up until a novel was published in like 1905 called Friday the 13th. And
hmm,
that's when things really ramped up. Now, unfortunately, it is not a slasher movie. It's more like a detective thing, if I remember correctly, from what
the
I was
book.
reading about it. The book, yes. You can't
Okay.
find a lot about. It's very hard to look up things about a book called Friday the 13th when there is an entire horror franchise that you have to sift through to get to that.
Well, maybe if you would look it up alongside the author's name.
That would work. That could probably
'Cause
work. I didn't think about
Blood
that,
didn't
but
try
still,
that. Anyways,
whatever. But
yeah, but
still, like it was
that's
interesting.
interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, 200 years sounds about right as far as bad luck superstitions go.
True.
You would think around like medieval times or dark ages, that's when a lot of superstitions, especially stuff about bad luck, would be popping up.
Yeah, that it does
But
it does make sense. It was just kind of cool because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like what exactly made them choose this? Like, it's just because, like, even in the movie, there's that moment where it's like, it's Black Cat Day. Like, it
That's true.
was it has always been like an unlucky thing for as much as like Western civilization is concerned, really.
Yeah. Well, that's
So
probably why they chose that for this, is because that's an unlucky, bad, scary kind of day. But
yeah,
then
but
I think in the
anyway,
movie
it's
they
still
said it was Jason's birthday or something,
yeah, it was Jason's birthday. That's they picked it
right?
at it was
That's
his
why.
birthday. Yeah, it was. I have to say, one thing
Hmm.
about going to go see this movie is I believe I brought it up to you afterwards, is that having not watched this since I was 13, it was kind of like
Yeah.
a fresh rewatch. And it's interesting seeing it colored from the point of view of me not just watching it as a movie, but me going to go see it as an experience. Made me
Hmm.
realize something about the first movie, is that it's like retroactively better if you just know about Friday the 13th. Not that if you've like seen it or know the exact like ending plot of the
Yeah.
movie. Like it's
Yeah.
like
If you're aware of.
retroactively better.
Hmm. Which they couldn't possibly. I know exactly what you're talking about. They couldn't possibly have planned that out that way. But the
No.
fact that it is what it is, vaguely going in with that vague knowledge, like how everyone is about um like say take Star Wars for instance, everyone knows Yoda, everyone knows Darth Vader, so like when
Yes.
those characters are revealed, it's kind of not a surprise anymore. So
Yes.
with everyone knowing Jason, everyone knows the hockey mask and all that. He's the Friday the 13th guy. With him being so prominent now, the first one is way better
Yes.
because of that.
Yes.
And it
It's very. I lost my train of thought. Sorry, continue.
no, it's fine. Well, cuz okay, so spoiler for a movie from like 50 years ago, Jason is not the killer in this one. It's his mom who's upset that the camp counselors let her son die. And
Yes.
then when they began reopening the camp again, she started killing off the counselors so it doesn't happen again, and she's gone crazy. So with Jason being the killer in every other movie, everyone associates the movies with him, so they think he's the killer the whole time. But then it turns out it's the mom.
Yes.
Which, again, you wouldn't even need to watch the movie to know that, as long as you watch Scream.
Well, see, that's another thing I realized while watching it, is that this exact thing that I realized while watching this is exactly what they were pointing out in that movie.
Yeah,
Is that they've made so many
is
of
that
them that it's easy to forget. Like even if you've watched the first one 15 times, like
mhm,
because all the other ones have the stigma of Jason, like it's extremely easy to just forget that.
yeah. All right. Little cool things that I noticed is that
Hmm.
a lot of I can't say whether or not this was just because of the movie, because of the ambiance, because of the theater we were in, or if because like it seemed kind of loud to me, like maybe the
Yeah.
theaters cranked the volume up, but a lot of the scares still got me, even
Oh
from
yeah.
such an old movie and outdated and stuff. And because especially like even the Kevin Bacon kill, which I knew was coming at that moment and exactly what was going to happen, when the arm just comes out from under the bed and just grabs his like face, like that still got me.
Yeah, so here's the thing. This is where I kind of went into like analysis mode about those, because like halfway through the movie I realized like these are freaking really getting me. Like, why are these like getting me so well? And that's when I realized we're watching a movie that set the stage for all the others. So at this point, we're accustomed to jump scares and things being telegraphed a certain way. Like there's the beats, you know? Like you can almost definitely guess when the jump scare is going to
For
happen.
new horror movies, absolutely. But for something
That's
like
what I
this, they
mean.
don't really telegraph it that much. But also,
That's what I mean.
I personally believe that, like, again, I think they just had the volume up like way too loud in the theater. Because like I forget the word I'm looking for, but like the big like pings, like when the nah nah nah,
Oh
like
yeah,
those
those
the
yeah.
stings when that
Yeah.
happens and they do like the nah, like that was very very loud and abrupt,
Yes.
and I don't think it was meant to be like that. But that may have a it may be that it did genuinely catch us off guard because of the how jump scares are telegraphed nowadays. Aren't really doing that back then, or because of the volume it might be a combo of the two.
Well, like
But for
one
some
scene.
reason, whatever it may be, they
Yeah.
did get us quite a bit.
There's one scene, and this is why I came to this conclusion, is the scene when she's sitting in the kitchen and the body just
Mm,
gets thrown through the window.
yeah,
Like
yeah, that was pretty
that
good.
that that right there, like that happening in that moment, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, like I'm actually thinking about it. I'm like, oh, so there's gonna be a jump scare coming. It's probably gonna be like like in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, the arm is it's gonna be something like I knew something was going to break through a window, but I was expecting like an arm coming out of a window to like grab her, or like a
Hmm.
blade coming through the window. I wasn't expecting a whole ass human being being thrown through a window. Like that was good.
That
Like
was pretty
that
good.
was actually
It
really
was.
good. Like this movie this movie definitely shows its age.
Yeah,
Like that
but
is
I
definite,
feel
but like it's still good.
yeah, it's kind of timeless in a way.
Yeah, that's the perfect word to describe it. It's timeless. Like it's yes, it's a product of its time, but it makes it all the more better.
Okay, yes, it's kind of dated when it does a flashback to 1958, and that's supposed to be like 20 years ago,
True.
but yeah. All right. Yeah. So overall, I think the experience of going to see it on October, specifically Friday the 13th, it just, and me sitting in seat number 13 and getting to see it with you and our friend and my brother and his girlfriend, and everyone was there. We got the whole squad together to go see this. It just made for a good night.
Yes, it was just a fun experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be one of the like I wouldn't say like the one of the best experiences I've had in a movie theater, because like I've seen some pretty cool things with my family, and we've got a couple pretty cool stuff alone. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
would
this
say like
was
this isn't number one, but it's like definitely this is definitely in my top 10.
yeah, it was a good night going to see this on that day specifically. That was cool.
Yeah,
So
that was
I
really cool. We'll see how surreal it is at the end of the month, though.
yeah. We'll get into that in a minute, but for now, I'm gonna give the Friday the 13th on October, Friday the 13th, a big ol' spooky thumbs up.
I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it like like 2 bloody machetes.
Whoa, that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that is really good.
Right. All right, so then that'll wrap up our podcast here. Looking ahead to the next time, we won't be able to see anything until Halloween itself. Yeah, we're getting the boys
Yes.
together for a big spooky movie outing where we will be watching Spirited Away. I believe it's the Japanese audio English subtitled version.
I believe so,
And
yes.
yeah, we are also, while we're on the topic of retro spooky slashers, we were watching Halloween, the original Halloween, on Halloween, which will also be pretty fun.
That
And
will be
then
fun.
finally, the long-awaited Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I have a bingo card ready for this movie from a bunch of shit that
I
I just
should put one
predicted will
together.
already be in it. It would be fun. I don't know.
It's pretty cool, but I'm excited to go see that. It's gonna be fun. We can talk more
Yeah,
about this on
I think
today
if
when we do
anything,
that.
it'll be fun. I think if anything, it'll be
Yeah,
fun, right? We'll talk more about
that's
this after we go see it on Halloween. But I
yes.
already have a lot to say about it, but we'll see how it is. So that should wrap up the podcast fully. Um,
Yep.
I think we're gonna have quite a few movies on our horizon, so stay tuned for that,
Yes.
guys. And until then, that's a wrap. Roll credits.